place clubs on display tonight from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. The St. Louis Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Cardinals at 52 and 46. John Mozeliak has been busy. Matt Holliday is in the lineup tonight. An aggressive move made by the Cardinals. Tony La Russa, what does that do for your lineup? Starting now.
Protecting Albert's a huge responsibility, and they have the talent, but they need the experience, and Matt has the experience. So not only does it get Albert more in the game, but it makes our lineup deeper. It moves, Ludd down a spot, and Ank is still in there, and you add Mark DeRosa. Our offense is a lot deeper now.
Welcome to Cardinals Baseball. Al Urbanski and Dan McLaughlin. You hear Tony La Russa talk about that move, and obviously this is sending shockwaves not just with the Cardinals organization, but really throughout baseball.
I think when you see the reaction from scouts or even the Phillies, that you know that the Cardinals came up with a real coup. And this is a guy that in his career has had very good success against anybody, particularly the Central Division. We know at Busch Stadium he's an awesome hitter, so I think this is a ringing endorsement, and thank you, ownership.
Yeah, Matt Holliday got to the ballpark around 5 o'clock tonight. He is in the lineup. He'll bat behind Albert Pujols, so he'll bat cleanup. Joel Pinheiro gets the start for St. Louis. A lefty on the mound for the Phils, so a different looking lineup for Tony in many ways. Baseball is next. Cardinals Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, with just the right taste and never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town. We shop the competitors so you don't have to. By Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. And by the State of Missouri Tobacco Quit Line. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Citizens Bank Park, home to the defending world champions, the Philadelphia Phillies. Matt Holliday, the newest St. Louis Cardinal, and he'll bat cleanup tonight. Some excitement here at the ballpark concerning the Redbirds. And a look at their lineup. Julio Lugo, his first start. He's at second base. Then Mark DeRosa, Albert Pujols, and Matt Holliday. Ryan Ludwig, Yadier Molina, Rick Ankiel, Brendan Ryan, the shortstop, and Joel Pinheiro. Jay Happ, the lefty, he's been very good this season, 7-0. Our Marshall Wireless starter, and opponents only hitting .222 against him.
Well, he started the season in the bullpen, but then when Chan-Ho Park started to have a little trouble, they switched roles, and he's been quite a find. Sneaky fastball, still an improving changeup and curveball, but he's doing the job for the Phils.
The defense features some all-stars for the Philadelphia Phillies. How about Raul Bañez in left and Shane Victorino, Jason Worth in right, Feliz, Rollins, Utley, and Howard. And the battery tonight, Happ and Ruiz. Julio Lugo, first start after coming over from Boston. He'll be at second base tonight. And with the lefty, a primarily right-handed hitting lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, there is excitement, folks, inside that Cardinals clubhouse concerning Matt Holliday and what this does for this club. The Cardinals have put themselves in a position to be in first place, 52 and 46, and now they're saying all chips in. Let's go for it.
Well, Dan, I think when the ball club was starting to really ask for help and sensing that they needed help to hold on to first place, ownership has done so. And you could not bring in anybody from an offensive standpoint that would have the impact of what Holliday's going to have with this ball club.
Exactly right. First pitch of the game is presented by Domino's. And the lefty delivers to Lugo, and it's a pitch that's taken for a ball. As Tony La Russa said, the Cardinals get him too at the right time. Not a week later, they get him right now. And this is a big series this weekend with the Phillies. You have the Dodgers coming in, the first of 4 when we return to Busch Stadium on Monday night, and then back within your division against Houston next weekend.
And it only worked that he'd be in the lineup tonight because Oakland was playing in New York.
And he actually took a train from New York to get here in time for this ball game tonight.
Right, and what helped out also is his wife and 2 kids were on the trip, so they all made the trip from New York City to Philadelphia and in the lineup.
The swing and a miss by Lugo, who was very disappointed in Boston that after signing that lucrative deal, and he was pretty much an everyday player for a couple of years, that He no longer was here in 2009, so he gets a fresh start with the Cardinals, but it's going to be tough for him to be an everyday player here.
Well, but he got hurt, and so.
And Lugo smokes one into center field. Victorino on the move and makes the catch near the 409 sign.
And the Phillies were telling me, and he has great success, Lugo, against Philadelphia pitching. But they said when he was with Tampa Bay, he hit 2 home runs against Cole Hamels, and he's always hit left-handed pitching very well.
And that's why Schumacher is on the bench. And speaking of Schumacher, he is the 5th best average against the Phillies of active players with more than 50 at bats. He's hitting .371, but with the lefty on the mound, Skip has to have a seat.
Well, did you notice who was #1 on that list?
Matt Holliday was up there, and who else?
Lugo.
Oh, Lugo yeah.
was #1.
Matt Holliday, by the way, had great numbers against the Cardinals. .429 for Julio Lugo. Here's Mark DeRosa. DeRosa out to left field. Ibanez makes the catch near the track. Well, we talked to Tony La Russa, and I asked him, how do you think Albert Pujols will be pitched now with Matt Holliday hitting behind him? And again, without saying, he's, hey, pick your poison. At times we pitched around Matt Holliday, and I'm sure some teams will pitch around Albert to get to Holliday, but then you have after that Ludwig after Holliday.
Yeah, I think the key is he will be pitched to, and that's all Tony wants, is don't automatically put up 4. Pitch to Albert, he'll get his hits, but you also have
slowly hit left side. Pujols hustling, barehanded, and a nice play at third by Pedro Feliz. Joel Pinheiro to the mound when we come back. Charlie Manuel became the 2nd manager in Phil's history to lead a club to a World Series title. Dallas Green, the other manager to do that. And he's got a loaded lineup. Jimmy Rollins, Shane Victorino, and Chase Utley, followed by Howard, Ibanez, and Worth. Feliz, Ruiz, and Happ, the pitcher, batting .091. Doesn't walk many, doesn't give up many home runs. Our Marshall Wireless starter, Joel Pinheiro for the Cardinals.
It just really has broke through this year. If you give him run support, he's going to be in the win column. But he has really established himself as one of the outstanding pitchers in his ability not to defeat himself, not throwing the home run ball, not walking people, and throwing a lot of ground ball outs.
And the switch hitter, Jimmy Rollins, bounces to Albert, and covering is Joel Pinheiro. Love to see that. The ground balls when Pinheiro is on the mound with his terrific sinker as of late. Defense behind him, Holliday, Ankiel, and Ludwig in the outfield. DeRosa, Ryan, Lugo, and Pujols on the infield. And the battery tonight, the Auto Tire defense, Joel Pinheiro and Yadier Molina. Here's Shane Victorino.
As good as the Cardinal offense is with DeRosa and Holliday in that lineup, this Philadelphia lineup is even deeper.
And you can make a case it's even better than it was when they won the World Series a year ago because of the addition of Ibanez, and he's had an all-star type year. Hits a spot but missed just inside. Pat Burrell was the left fielder last year.
And I think too that they've played together now. They've won as a team. They know what it's all about, and it used to be an advantage.
That's a fair ball. Pujols takes it at first, and a couple of ground ball outs.
It was an advantage for any team to come into Philadelphia and play the Phillies, but that is no longer. They have won 12 of their last 14 home games, and now last night for the first time all season are 1 game over 500 at home.
Yeah, 15 of 17 they've won overall. Charlie Manuel saw his club start at home 13 and 22, and they only hit .246 in this hitter's park. And opponents hit .287, but they have turned the page as July 1st came around. 12 and 2 here at home. They've hit .290 as a team, and opponents have only hit .211. So the hitting and the pitching has both come around at home.
And the key is the pitching. Their starters have gotten a lot better.
See the HK worn on the left side of the front of the jersey for the Phillies as Utley hits it into center. debut of Matt Holliday, the Cardinal uniform at the plate when we come back. Back in Philly, if you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com. So here we go with Matt Holliday, who is hitting .286 on the season, 11 home runs, over 50 RBIs. But the Cardinals get him at a time when he is swinging the bat well. He is hot right now.
Last 10 games, just under 400 with 3 home runs, 6 doubles, 11 RBIs, and 12 runs scored.
First pitch to Holliday. Taken for a strike, and I'm sure he's got some butterflies, a little nervousness right now in his first at bat. Wearing the birds on the bat for the Cardinals. And the 0-1 pitch. Holliday chops one left side, slowly hit, and a base hit for Holliday. His first Cardinal hit, an infield hit.
Well, you know, the one thing I talked about with Hal McRae about what does Holliday bring to the table. And a lot of people want to think about home runs and RBIs, but he said it's the high average. And just having another outstanding hitter offering protection. And I asked the same question of Tony La Russa, and he said he's like Pujols. He's a high average guy that hits home runs and RBIs. And so we'll take the infield singles on top of it.
Now that's the kind of protection Albert was looking for.
And now he can relax too.
Here's Ludwig. Holliday running, throw to second, and safe. Stolen base for Holliday. He's making an impact here in the second inning.
Well, why not? He's 29 years of age. He does have 12 steals, and every year he's been in the big leagues, I think he's had at least 10 steals. So inside pitch, gets down there, gets in scoring position. That was a little surprise, and picks him blind as gets himself in scoring position. He's from Stillwater, Oklahoma, so you know he knows all about Cardinal baseball.
And a ground ball hit towards short, and Ludwig is retired, but advancing on the play. Productive out. Holliday over to third, and a chance for Molina. But you take a look on paper at this lineup, a completely different looking lineup from 3 weeks ago, as Lightning just went off the not too far distance, and it was to the left field side. So but you look at it now with DeRosa and with Holliday, a completely different looking lineup.
And one of the real keys, Dan, is, you know, when you put more good hitters in a lineup, you know, they're going to produce, but everyone else can relax. And hitting becomes contagious, and it's so important to get that lead.
Molina fouls one back.
You can see Happ has the ability to get inside on right-handed batters. And they say he's sneaky fast. He can also pitch up in the zone, as he's got a lot of late movement on his pitches and deceptive speed.
Hey, here's some thunder in the area too. We saw enough rain last night.
I thought so.
Big gap into left center. Shallow and right. And a swing and a miss by Molina.
There you get an idea. 91 miles an hour, but really Molina with a late swing on there, because it sneaks up on you.
Cardinals will face a right-hander tomorrow. Rodrigo Lopez, who's 2-0, and then Joe Blanton on Sunday. He's 6-4. St. Louis counters with Cal Loge and Todd Wellemeyer. And Molina, swing and a miss.
You just don't see Yachty swing and miss like that. Couple pitches, but talk about that ability to throw the ball up and get guys to chase it. But he's got a little life on the ball upstairs, and that's a tough pitch to center.
The common theme I heard from the players when meeting Mark DeRosa is they couldn't believe his upper body and how big he is. He is put together. He's a strong guy. We're talking about Holliday, and they were also surprised with DeRosa too. And well, Holliday is put together. Can hit for average.
Holliday's got a football background.
Yeah, and
very
his
good
dad
football
was
player, and his
a
dad.
coach. So now it drops Ludwig to fifth in this lineup. Holliday bats cleanup, and Pujols bats third. Ricky Ankiel, the one lefty in this lineup, and he's in center field tonight.
And the way people are moving in the stands, you would think rain is imminent, if not already fallen at the park.
Ankiel will get down, base hit, and the Cardinals lead it. Matt Holliday scores the first run of the night. Rick Ankiel delivers. That's good to see.
Yeah, how important for Rick to get a base hit RBI against a left-hander and give the Cardinals that lead.
Infield hit by Holliday, a steal. He's moved over by Ludwig, and Holliday scores on the base hit from Ricky Ankiel. All set up with the steal by Matt Holliday. You're right, Al. He can now just kind of relax. Scores the first run of the game, gets a first base hit.
Stolen base.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and when the Cardinals score first, it usually is a very good sign and ends up in the victory column.
Cardinals are 7th best in the league when they score first at 44-15. They strike first tonight. Brendan Ryan.
Change up there, which is a pretty effective weapon for Happ. His curveball is still trying to improve. He's got the slider on top of it.
Well, as you mentioned in our open, you give ownership a lot of credit for stepping up on both deals. And I think at this point now, your scouting department, Jeff Luhnow, you have to give him credit. You know, Chris Perez turns into Mark DeRosa, Brett Wallace, Mortensen, and another outfielder. That turns into Matt Holliday.
Well, you know, it's the entire organization, because scouting got those players, development, you know, produced them to where other clubs wanted them, and to give up, you know, major league talent for them. Ownership has to take on more salary and payroll, and you know that this is not only is Holliday and DeRosa here, but you like to think it's an audition for whether you can retain them.
That is the big question now. Can you sign him long term? Can you keep him in the fold if he wants to be here and you want him back?
You know, you get that commitment from everybody, and then you ask for the 10th player, and that's the Cardinal fans, to welcome these guys to such a degree to where they want to come to this baseball environment, be on a championship caliber team in a baseball heaven. A lot of guys would take less money to do so.
Here's a 3-2 pitch, and a base hit into right field. Fought off by Brendan Ryan, and Keel on his way to third base, and he'll stop there.
And how about the Cardinals? The stolen base, then they have the hit and run on. Works that to perfection, as the Cardinals really, you know, are not trying, you know, really a station-to-station team.
And here comes a grounds crew, so they're going to have a stoppage in play here with 2 outs in the top of the 2nd inning. And we'll have a Helitech rain delay. Heal your home with Helitech. And unlike what we saw last night with Washington and their grounds crew, these guys look like they have a little experience.
They have an army.
We'll be back with more in just a moment. 1-0 Cardinals. Matt Holliday has scored the first run of this ball game tonight. And we are back at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Dan McLaughlin, Al Rabaski with you. Matt Holliday has scored the only run so far tonight. The Cardinals have 3 base hits, and they lead it by the score of 1-0. And so here we go. As the tarp was on the field, the grounds crew did a very fine job getting this ready to play. And at the plate, Joel Pinheiro with 2 outs and a couple of runners on. It was back-to-back singles, an RBI hit by Ricky Ankiel. Little floater off the bat of Brendan Ryan. And now Joel Pinheiro, who's hitting .211 on the year. No home runs and 3 RBIs. Outfield very shallow.
See if he can't help his own cause like he did his last time out, where he got a 2-run double and drove in all the runs in the Cardinal victory, 2-1 victory, and that's the Last time that happened with a Cardinal pitcher driving in all the runs in a victory was back in '61 and Ray Sadecki.
Wow. Rain delay of 48 minutes. Let's hope Piñeiro's all right as he's limping around there, and out to make sure he is Barry Weinberg, the Cardinals head trainer.
Fouled that pitch off his leg and trying to walk it off.
And he says he's all right. No balls, 2 strikes. Let's take a look here.
Just below the knee on the shin.
That hurts. It was an infield hit by Matt Holliday, his first plate appearance. He then stole the base and came around to score in the Ankiel single. 0-2 pitch. A little check swing and into the seats. Big crowd on this Friday night weekend series. 2 of the best teams record-wise in the National League, the Cardinals and the Phillies. Mentioned the HK on the uniform of the Phillies, honoring Harry Callis. A swing and a miss. A strikeout, but Matt Holliday has made an impact in his first game. To bring you up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Ryan Howard leads it off against Joel Piñeiro. And let's see how Piñeiro feels after following that ball off his leg. We're watching him warm up. He was missing the strike zone by an awful lot. So let's hope he's going to be all right. He's still got a little bit of a limp in favoring that leg, but hopefully once he starts pitching, everything will be just fine.
And you always worry about a pitcher with a leg injury, and you try to alter your motion a little bit to compensate for it, and you end up hurting your arm.
There's a 1-2-3 first inning for Piñeiro. Here's Ryan Howard. First pitch hit out of play. It's a crowd oohs and ahs with everything that he does. Ryan Howard, 376 average against the Cardinals. Matt Holliday, 394, interestingly enough, just ahead of the St. Louisan Ryan Howard. He is perfect for this ballpark, Al, because of the fact that he hits for power, but he can hit to the opposite field. He just flicks the wrist and the ball just jumps off his bat.
And that's one of the things, is that ability to go the opposite field and go deep. Still going to strike out a lot, but he's become a much better hitter.
Last 11 games against the Cardinals, hitting .459, and much of that done in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. The next 2, Howard taken outside. Last year, 48 home runs for Howard, and he drove in 146. This year, 24 home runs, 70 RBIs. Former MVP and Rookie of the Year, and a slimmed down version of Ryan Howard this season.
That's the thing you notice about him is he really has tightened up and looks really in much better shape than we've seen him in the past.
And Howard is swinging a miss, and he strikes out for the 114th time this year. It's something he does a lot.
He'll strike out, but you can live with his production. The fastest in Major League history to get to 200 home runs. And he's played 10 career games against St. Louis in Philadelphia, and he's hit in all 10 at a high average. But empty that time.
Raul Ibanez has become a fan favorite. Why not, with the kind of numbers he's put up? 25 homers, 70 driven in.
And the Cardinals had some interest in him as he signed with the Philadelphia Phillies as a free agent.
I talked to Dave Duncan, the Cardinal pitching coach, about Piñeiro and this run that he is on, and he reiterated to me it's not just the sinker. He said he's throwing that about 70% of the time. He said, but everything has been better. Breaking balls, he's keeping the ball low, his location this year, but everything has been better from Piñeiro.
Well, when you get on top of that sinker, which you have to do to get all the ground balls that he's capable of getting, you're also putting yourself in good mechanical position to finish off other pitches, and that keeps it down in the zone.
Pitch hit 88, 3 balls and 1 strike.
Remember, he hasn't walked a batter in 4+ starts.
And a ground ball to Albert. Pinheiro over, still limping towards the bag as he is shaking his head a little bit. And here's Jason Worth. Big hit the other night. A walk-off home run against the Cubs, 13th inning. Jeff Samardzija was on the mound, and Worth hopping home. 3-run homer in the 13th, first career walk-off for Worth.
You talk to the Phillies and you ask them where would you be without Jason Worth, and they just shake their heads. But a lot of times you look at this lineup, once you get past Utley, Howard, and Banez, you kind of relax, and then this guy bites you. But he is an outstanding hitter and doing a lot of damage because people aren't paying enough attention to him.
First pitch to Worth. We are going to have to keep an eye on Pinheiro on that leg following that foul tip, as he was running over to the bag at first. Did not look comfortable at all.
It's usually my experience, though, that being active, whether in your motion or running and fielding your position, is going to help loosen it up. But that's what you worry about, is in between innings, it's stiffening up.
2-0 pitch, and Worth takes a strike. 2-1. He's hitting .271, 21 homers, and 62 RBIs. Molina sets up outside. The 2-1 pitch, way up and in. And with Pinheiro, when he's right, like he has been now the last month and a half, they're quick outs. He's not going to 3-ball counts, and that's what we're seeing here in the second inning.
Yeah, and I think it's a direct result of fouling the ball off his shin that, when it puts weight on it, it kind of, his body wants to rebel. He's not finishing off. And him walking somebody, it's not working.
And that's one of the keys to this game, presented by Toyota. Fewest walks per 9 innings since 1900. Pinheiro, .88 here in 2009. Tewksbury in 92, 93. Cy Young, 1900. And Bob Tewksbury, not 1927, obviously. If it was quite a career. Lengthy.
Spanned a few decades, didn't it? We knew he was long in the tooth, but not quite that long. But, Pinheiro, as I said, who got 4+ starts without a walk, and he had another 4-start little streak where he didn't walk a batter. He's got the fewest walks in the National League.
And 94 was what that graphic should have said with Bob Tewksbury last year. 1 ball, 1 strike. We got in late last night. Mistakes happen. It's no big deal. Just move on, Al.
Well, let me tell people, if anybody's in Washington wants to come to Philadelphia, we all recommend the train.
Outstanding.
That was, considering the rain delays, the 2 rain delays, and, taking off and getting in here, still getting into Penn Station, about 2:30 in the morning. I don't think there was one complaint. Everybody had a fun time.
They really did. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Took you back to your first days in the major. I'm just joking, Al. I don't mean that. I'm just kidding. Here's some of the pictures. Ricky Ankiel there and Adam Wainwright in the front.
It's funny, but Red Shandy stays.
And a ground ball hit to third. Over to Albert.
They would have 3-week road trips on the train.
Some of the pictures from last night's. Hits for the Cardinals, none for the Phillies, and a 1-0 St. Louis lead. Cardinals Crew, hosted by Andy Bennis and Fred Bird, Saturdays on Fox Sports Midwest. And that will be tomorrow, right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals Crew. Top of the lineup for the Cardinals, Julio Lugo, fly to deep center, first time up. Lugo getting the start at second base, primarily a right-handed hitting lineup this evening. Only lefty in there, Ricky Ankiel. Lugo is swing and a miss.
And Ankiel has the lone RBI of the game.
Well, the Cardinals, in giving up some prospects, give up Brett Wallace, which was, for most people around baseball, considered the third baseman of the future and arguably the best hitting prospect for the Cardinals. Brett Wallace, #1 pick in 08, first-round pick. And he was hitting .293. A few minutes ago, Al McRae, not only does he help Albert Pujols hit, but he's going to keep everything dry. He's a stickler for dryness and cleanliness down there. A swing and a miss. Lugo strikes out.
Happ has that ability to get guys to chase pitches.
Wallace, 222 at bats at Memphis. 6 home runs, 19 RBIs. Springfield, he was hitting .281. Cardinals gave up second-round pick of 08 as well, Shane Peterson. And he started at Palm Beach this year, which he had .298 with 6 home runs. He was at Springfield AA. He was hitting .284. And Clayton Mortensen, who we saw this year at Memphis, had 17 starts and had a record of 7-6. So those are the 3 players that the Cardinals give up to get Matt Holliday. Now, you may have heard the interview that we conducted on the pregame show, Ken Rosenthal talking about the deal. And in many ways, he thought Billy Beane did a pretty good job, simply for the fact that Billy Beane was running out of time, and who was going to be able to get him the kind of prospects that he wanted. That was according to Ken Rosenthal. Well, he'll be on Fox Saturday Baseball tomorrow.
And I think everyone feels that it's a worthwhile gamble. And if
the way to look at it.
And if you can sign, and I put DeRosa in this category too. I mean, I would like to see the Cardinals re-sign DeRosa because of his versatility, and I'd like to see that protection.
DeRosa rips it foul.
You know, being able to sign Holiday, and I think now that's going to be a little more creative because he's only 29 years of age. And we don't know where Brett Wallace is going to be in 3 or 4 years. Mortensen, you don't know if he's going to be other than somebody that's easily replaced by one of the other Cardinal prospects.
It's 4 strikeouts for Happ, and it brings in Albert Pujols. I talked to Ryan Ludwig, who really did a pretty good job hitting behind Pujols this year. In particular, when you talk about Pujols being walked, whether it be intentionally or not, Ludwig's numbers were terrific. He was making teams pay. So now he hits behind Holiday, and I asked Ryan, I said, do you have a preference, 4th or 5th? He said, not at all. He said, I go in with a game plan anyway, and it doesn't, I don't deviate from that plan. It doesn't matter where I hit. As Pujols fouls it back.
I told Ludwig about the trade, and he thought I was kidding at first. And I said, no, this is what they're reporting. And then he goes, well, you think this is going to affect my playing time? And I said, no.
No. Albert pops it up. Chased a ball. Popped up into foul territory. Howard is there. He's got it. Holiday left on deck again. Midway through 3. 1-0 St. Louis.
To be able to play in meaningful games in September and October, you can't beat it. I mean, the atmosphere and the enthusiasm for baseball and the feeling you get as a player, the excitement about going to the field every day. I'm excited. I think it's something that once you've been there, you want to get back, and you want that taste of being on a winning team and playing meaningful games.
Matt Holliday introduced to the media here in Philadelphia at about 5 o'clock this afternoon. He got here, met his teammates, quick meeting with Tony La Russa, put on his uniform, and away we go. Now, the Cardinals really haven't had an impact trade like this arguably since Larry Walker.
Well, I think more in the fact of McGuire, because Larry's
was after the deadline.
But he was older, you know, started having some injuries.
Off the glove, Ryan can't get rid of it, and it's a base hit for Ruiz. First base hit tonight for the Phillies. Don't forget, August 2nd is the Build-A-Bear Day at Busch Stadium. Number to call, 345-9500, or visit STLCardinals.com. Houston will be in town. Kids after the game can run the bases. It's a family Sunday as well. Terrace or pavilion reserved seat. You get a free hot dog and soda. And so make sure that you come on out to the ballpark August 2nd, Houston. So next weekend, right after Los Angeles leaves town. Scott Rowland back in 02. Big deal at the deadline. Polanco part of that, Mike Timlin. So a couple good players went away. And your thoughts on McGuire?
Well, I mean, McGuire, you know, because you're getting a guy in their prime. Like Larry was a little bit beyond it. The injuries are kind of creeping up, but obviously a great addition.
There's a bunt by Happ. Only play is to first, and the sacrifice is good.
If my memory serves me right, McGuire started here in Philadelphia, joined the ball club in Philadelphia.
And so Ruiz is in scoring position at second base. Saturday afternoons made for baseball. This week Fox brings you the national game of the week as Albert Pujols leads the Cardinals to take on the Phillies tomorrow afternoon. Fox Saturday Baseball, 3 Central, only on Fox.
Hasn't Holiday worked out with McGuire too?
Holiday, Schumacher, McGuire,
right?
Chris Duncan, Shelley Duncan. I know that's one of the reasons why Tony La Russa, you know, was open about it at the winter meetings last year. Remember, he said, hey, we need a bat behind Albert Pujols, and Holiday's name was mentioned. The trade rumors at that point, and a lot of that came from the input of Mark McGuire. Little chopper to second. Lugo over to make the play. And it's up to Shane Victorino as Ruiz advances to third base. 1-0 St. Louis here in the third. Talking with Jose Oquendo about Brett Wallace. Everybody said, and they continue to say, that Al, he will be a factor with the bat at some point in the major leagues. Jose felt that third base wise, it was going to be a work in progress at this level.
Yes.
And that was one of his real concerns with Wallace, is that he can't play first base. You've got the game's best player sitting over there, so you're stuck playing third base. You know, he can't play first. Pujols is there, so he's got to play third.
And there were guys that, you know, like right here in this town, Lazinski, that you could move a big body guy to the outfield. So there was a possibility of moving to the outfield for Brett Wallace, but I think that at some point he's going to be an outstanding major league hitter, and in the American League you got that DH option.
And he could also play first there as well. 1 ball, 1 strike on Victorino, grounded out to first, his first time up. It was Jose before the game, and he said, look, he's going to be an okay player, he'll be fine, but this kind of guy adds excitement to our clubhouse, gives Pujols protection. And I think the best thing it says is we're trying to win right now.
Yeah, and you're sending that message to your team. So right now it's on the players.
Here's a fly ball. Left center. Holiday over and makes the catch. Matt Holliday, Ryan Ludwig, and Yadier Molina coming up. It's 1-0 after 3. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By the Casino Queen Hotel and Casino, home of the loosest slots. And by McDonald's. Better set your alarm. Sausage burritos are coming at McDonald's. A pitch taken up and away by Holiday. Infield base hit, his first time up.
Brett Wallace about 22 years of age.
22. Yep.
Holiday's 29.
Holiday beats it on the ground to short. And he's 1 for 2 tonight. One of the other factors about this, in my opinion, now, and I'm not sure you agree with it, but Albert Pujols has come out and said, you know, I want to stay in St. Louis, but I want to have a chance to win, and I always want to have a chance to win. Well, you're sending a message not just to those players, but in particular to number 5.
I think there's no doubt about that, and that's, you've got to put a good quality team around him. Talk about the protection, but that's a legitimate, you know, offensive weapon.
The Cardinals next year, and really going into this offseason, Gloss, Green, Kennedy, more than likely all off the books. And that's a lot of money that's freed up. You're not sure what you're doing with Pinheiro. Not sure about Ankiel.
Now I know, what is it? Colorado offered something like $88 million to Holiday in a multi-year contract that he turned down, and that was the reason he was traded to Oakland. But let his representatives and the Cardinals work those things out. But it's kind of a catch-22, because Albert says, you know, hey, money's not the most important thing. Winning is. And so you better have players around me so we'd have a chance to win. I'm not sure he's going to volunteer to let somebody make more money than him either.
No. This lineup, compared to the other teams in the Central, if not the best, it's right there. Be hard pressed to find a better one right now.
And we're winning because of our pitching.
3-2 is hit down the right field line and slicing foul and out of play.
Dan, and you may disagree with this, but don't you get the feeling last year that the team felt like they were let down and not acquiring help down the stretch?
There is no doubt about that.
And there's no one mentioned anything about this after the DeRosa and the Holiday trade this year. They know that ownership has gone out and made the commitment to them.
Put it this way, somebody said to me today, we did our part to get into first place and get to this point. They, meaning the front office and ownership, have done their part. Now it's back on us to win this thing.
I think it's very true.
Yep.
And players understand that.
That's a fair ball, backhanded by Feliz from his knees and not in time. May have taken away a double, but a base hit for Ryan Ludwig. I like that, though. In all the players I talked to, and you heard, you know, some of the players on camera talk about it, but they all said, you know, they've given us enough to win. It's up to us to get this thing done, and everybody was charged up when they got to the ballpark.
And I think once again it's worth repeating that, you know, the scouting department acquired that minor league talent. The farm system developed that minor league talent to where the A's or Cleveland wanted those players so they could go out and acquire major league talent, DeRosa and Holiday. So I mean, it's the entire organization doing what they have to do, ownership okaying that, knowing that you know, we're taking on payroll, but it's worth it because the fans are coming through the turnstiles. This team is in a position where we think with a little help they can push them over the top. So I mean, it's a win-win situation for the entire organization.
We should mention, by the way, standing room only tickets are available for Monday, and this was even before the announcement of the Holiday trade. So standing room only. So basically, it's a sold out crowd on Monday night. Good seats though Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday is the pin night against the Dodgers.
But that's against the Dodgers, so I mean they're a very exciting draw.
As one player said to me today, we're going to find out just how good we are this series. Dodgers, Houston.
And Houston comes in right after the Dodgers. So
right.
Great homestand for the fans to come out and see this team. Voice your opinion of the trade. I'll take my chances that it's favorable.
Absolutely. You know, the reception will be a big one for Holiday when we get back home on Monday. 1-0 pitch to Molina, and he hits it off the end of the bat. Shallow left center, catch made by Victorino. 2 outs. Cardinal fans, when it comes to tickets, you deserve Major League service, so go online to StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals, and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee. Rick Ankiel with an RBI base hit. The drive-in Holiday, the only run tonight, back in the second.
Probably have a little fun with a little radio spot talking about the holiday season.
Yes, we will. As Ankiel pops it up, Phillies will give it a look and out of play. How will this trade, how will you look at it a year from now if DeRosa doesn't re-sign and if Holiday doesn't re-sign and the Cardinals don't make it into postseason play?
If the Cardinals get their 11th World Championship, it's a little easier to absorb. And
on a hop to Phillies, they'll go to first. Chase Utley leads it off when we come back.
We got some sock. We've definitely got some sock. So, I mean, you look 2, 3, 4, 5 today. Wow. It's going to be fun. You know, our pitching's done a great job all year long. We've had some spurts this year where the offense has been down a little bit, and then some spurts where our offense has been great. So hopefully this brings some balance to the offense to where we can be a little bit more consistent and make that run.
Get the feeling that he's pretty pleased with the trade, huh?
No doubt about it. Tony was even talking about some of the guys where it will affect their playing time and how happy they are about the trade.
1 ball, 1 strike. Al, I'm not sure I believe that, but Tony did say that.
Tony said that, so it was worth repeating.
Yes, it was.
Talking about his team, and there's no I in team.
That catches the corner. Good pitch to Utley, 1-2. Now that's how you have a word with an umpire, isn't it? Right there, you just put your head down. You don't make a scene, but you say what you have to say about the call.
Saying in a different language, maybe too.
Some choice words.
Yeah.
A foul tip by Utley. Well, this guy's a heck of a player. We mentioned Placido Polanco before in that trade with Scott Rowland. He came over and Polanco was replaced by Utley. You got to be a pretty good player to do that because Polanco was thought of very highly here in Philadelphia.
And Utley is taking it to another step, especially his power numbers.
21 home runs, 67 RBIs.
You know, he's career against the Cardinals, 331 with 4 home runs, 26 career RBIs. He's hit in 7 straight games against the Cardinals, just under 300. Very good player.
2 balls, 2 strikes. They want it outside again. Hits his spot. That pitch right there, Utley has to protect the plate. That's been called a strike.
And you get a little sink and a little running action down and away to a left-handed batter. It's tough to cover.
Same pitch.
Just got a little piece of it.
Talk so much about Holiday and his offense defensively. Very good left fielder.
Very good, yes. So, I mean, he's a complete player. His speed has already been demonstrated in their 1-0 lead.
2-2. See, every pitch has been outside. You try to go in on Utley. Not many times are you going to win unless you go all the way in because he can turn on a pitch quickly.
Turn on it, and you're trying to get him to roll over, or if he hits it, you know, he stays in the ballpark. It's just a single.
3-2 pitch, and he got him a strikeout of Utley. Just pounded that outside portion of the plate. Everything you knew about fantasy football is about to change. Introducing the all-new Fox Fantasy Football. With more features and new ways to play. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of fantasy football. Here's Ryan Howard. One of the reasons that Ryan Howard decided to slim down a bit is that he wanted to work on his defense and he wanted better range. And some people even described him privately as being upset over his defense, maybe a little bit embarrassed, and that's not the case anymore. He really worked hard in the offseason on his defense, and they are raving about it this year with the Phillies.
Can't be happier about it in this era of just offensive players that, you know, a lot of people can take a pass on their defense. And you know Albert, the way he feels and works hard, that you know, he works on every aspect of his game. You like to see all players do that.
The Cardinals have somewhat of a shift on in the infield, but Lugo, second baseman, is a good 20 yards back on the outfield grass.
And you've got us playing pretty much straight away in the left field because he has that power to hit it out of the ballpark.
Since their duties at the All-Star break, you wonder if they're a little bit tired. Ryan back in his hometown of St. Louis. You see the games played. Not a lot, but just give me an indication. Maybe just a little bit tired coming off the All-Star game. 2-2 pitch. And Pujols got to town on that Sunday night around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning following the Sunday night game on ESPN. And he had all his duties with a press conference the next day, so much so that he was the face of Major League Baseball and the face of the All-Star game this year. Howard opposite way. Well hit. Holliday back. Leaps. Misplayed it. Matt Holliday misplayed that ball. And Howard winds up at second base.
Same way I believe too, is he had another step or two he could have taken before he tried to jump for that ball. Sneaks in right behind himself in the wall, and I think with another step and jump, he catches that easily.
Howard winds up at second base. One out, and here's Ibanez. Ibanez grounded out to Pujols first time up. Tying run at second base and a breaking ball in there for a strike. You see so many of those sinkers, and then all of a sudden he flips a breaking ball in there for a strike.
Get ahead breaking ball, but it's got a lot more bite on it. It's just that true more 12-6 rather than something rolling up there.
Even after all these games that these guys play at this level in front of huge crowds, coming over to a new team, understanding the importance of the trade, how big it is around baseball, you have to figure Matt Holliday is feeling a little bit of pressure and some nerves out there tonight, no doubt.
I would imagine a lot of it's just anxiety, you know, just come to a new team, you know, got your family with you, you got to relocate them just from New York City to Philadelphia. Forget about even the fact that all your baseball belongings, so to speak, are in Oakland. When you're going to get those and get your family settled in.
Go back to the play by Holliday. Definitely had room.
Yeah, see, it just sneaks over his glove, and I think if he had a little more time, you know, he could have taken another half step before he jumped and caught it easily.
Second hit for the Phillies. It's sharply to Lugo to his left and makes the play. In steps Jason Worth, former catcher. He first was signed. He's with the Blue Jays, then with the Dodgers, and now with the Phillies.
Very athletic family. Grandpa, Ducky Schofield, his dad was a minor league player. His mom's an Olympian.
Brendan Ryan on the outfield grass at short. First pitch taken up and away. Cardinals will have Brendan leading it off, looking ahead to the fifth, and then Pinheiro and Lugo.
And here, when you have so many good bats in the Phillies lineup, As a pitcher, you can make a real crucial mistake thinking that, okay, you can relax a little bit with Jason in the lower end of the order, because this guy has put up some big numbers.
Left field, hooking, and it is foul. Home run distance, but foul.
Turned on that quickly, didn't he?
Sure did. One ball, one strike. Long foul ball.
He's jumped out of here, and as long as it's on the left side of that foul pole, we really don't care how far it went.
In the air, near the corner, and the catch made in foul territory by Ludwig. We played 4 from Citizens Bank Park. 1-0 St. Louis. 1-0 St. Louis over the Phillies, top of the 5th. This date in baseball history, presented by Schnucks. Manager Gabby Street is fired midseason by the Cardinals after leading them to National League pennants the previous 2 years. July 24th, 1933, this date in history. Brought to you by Schnucks. What have you done for me lately?
That's exactly it. And
here's Brendan Ryan. First pitch. Right field. Still some lightning in the area. And no rain right now.
Birth today of our newest Cards fan, Hayes McPherson McClintock. Born today in St. Louis. Mom, Dad, Grandma doing fine, but Grandpa Mike Bogart, well, they're still trying to see if he's going to make it. Congratulations.
Here's Pinheiro. Struck out swinging with 2 runners on back in the 2nd inning. Cardinals, who just joining us, picked up their run in the 2nd. RBI base hit with 2 outs by Ricky and Keel. That scored Matt Holliday. Holliday singled, stole a base, and came around to score. Do you buy into Pinheiro being so motivated by being left off the roster of the World Baseball Classic as a factor as to why he's had this kind of year?
No, I think it helped contribute to it. Got him in the right direction in spring training. Yeah, a little part of it, but I give him more credit, you know, than just that being the total motivation.
That's 5 strikeouts for Happ.
I think it helped motivate him to get him started, and you know, whether initially just helped saying, okay, I'm going to show you. It's in his walk year, but I think he just finally, you know, kind of bought into what Dave Duncan tried to tell him, told him how he can win, give him that game plan, and he's been able to execute it.
I know the Cardinals felt he came into spring training in excellent shape too.
And that was one of the differences. You know, last year, remember, he had 2 early stints on the disabled list, one of them coming out of spring training, and they just really felt like he never caught up.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Lugo with 2 outs. Taken high, 2 balls, no strikes. Julio Lugo, his first start for the Cardinals tonight. It comes at second base. He has flied to deep center and also struck out. Randy Wolf and Chris Carpenter. Our next game is Monday night against Manny Ramirez and the Dodgers. Early start time on Monday too. 2-1 pitch. Lugo chops it towards third. Feliz, long throw. The scoop, no. Made it on a fly over to Ryan Howard. They take a hit away from Julio Lugo. Our Bud Light What's on Tap. Bud Light, the difference is drinkability. Sunday, Ricky Horton, Jay Randolph, and the crew from Channel 5 will be here. Cardinals at Philly, Sunday at noon on KSDK and the Cardinals TV network. Pedro Feliz, Carlos Ruiz, and Happ the pitcher. 7, 8, and 9. And Feliz looks at a ball inside. Well, the Cardinals really very easily could have 2 more wins on this road trip. The first game in Houston, the last game in Houston. Blown save by Franklin, who, by the way, has trimmed up his facial hair. After the blown save, he just trimmed it up a little bit. Not a lot, just a little.
You are so much more observant on these male players than me.
Well, I just, you know, I talk to them. Okay, Al. And so
I talked to them today too, but I just don't study them, that facial aspects of them that much.
Oh, that look, as Ryan says, is marvelous. He said his wife doesn't like it. His kids don't like it, but his teammates love it. He said the guys at the All-Star game loved it. And it, as he said, it's really taken on a mind of its own.
Well, if you remember, I started growing my facial hair as a tribute to the guys in the bullpen.
And I'm sure they really appreciate that.
They probably don't realize it.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Feliz pulls it foul. He said it has gotten a little on the uncomfortable side when he sleeps. If he rolls over, it just...
It's probably so thick.
It kind of just goes up into his face. It bothers him. It's a good 3-4 inches off his chin now. One ball and 2 strikes.
Nero's doing what he has to do, and that is you just worry about stopping the Phillies. You can't think about the lack of support. He's got the 1-run lead and doing what he's got to do with it. Hold up, maintain it.
Backing up just a bit, the shortstop Ryan, a high throw, and he still got him.
Albert come down on his ankle and make sure he's okay.
I'm not sure if he didn't get stepped on or if he twisted his ankle.
I think it's when he went up and came down and may have rolled over a little bit, but
Tony La Russa was starting to sprint out of the dugout to check on Albert, who apparently is okay.
high throw, he comes down.
He may have gotten stepped on his toe.
It's hard to tell either way. Yeah, he got stepped on because when you see Feliz trying to avoid it. Brendan Ryan's tenure in St. Louis was really nice.
That's how you get out of town. With those high throws, somehow Albert might get hurt, and that's when you are shipped out.
And of course we're kidding, but
we are kidding. He's not going anywhere. The Cardinals have been, in all honesty, thrilled with the defense from Brendan Ryan.
Yes, and in all honesty, if you ask Brendan Ryan right now, he'd say, come on, Albert, please don't limp, don't do anything.
Make sure your toe's okay.
Yeah, I'll pack my bags right now.
Ground ball up the middle and a base hit.
Reeves had been struggling.
Yep, it brings in the pitcher Happ, who sacrificed his first time up.
And the second hit, 2 for 2, is Carlos Ruiz. He was batting 149 since June the 9th.
And let's see him sacrifice here, and if the Cardinals can be aggressive and get the lead runner. You know, Molina will try, as he thought about it last time. Following the single by Ruiz, he's now 2 for 2.
Well, they have such a weapon in their on-deck hitter, Jimmy Rollins.
Who's really had an off year, though.
He has.
He's 0 for 2 tonight. He's sitting under 240.
He had an 0 for 28 streak earlier this year, Jimmy Rollins. And he's hitting 405 since that time. And it was a couple little bleeders. He told me he hit 2 ropes in Atlanta, both of them caught, and he hit 2 dunkers. They went for base hits, and that kind of jump-started him.
Could these two be the 2 leading candidates right now for Rookie of the Year? You know that Colby will be in that conversation. Happ is starting to get in that conversation with a 7-0 record. ERA that's under 3. A lot of talk here in Philly that besides Pedro Martinez, who will have a simulated start on Sunday, that they would be the front runners with the best package to get Roy Halladay if they wanted to do it.
He was on a Philadelphia pregame show today, and they were asking me about that possibility, and I said, oh no, you know, the Cardinals are going to trade for Halladay. They were thinking I was serious, which the Cardinals are serious that they'd like to. I just don't know they can put together a package.
It's a strikeout of Happ. Yeah, everybody would like to.
But apparently Philadelphia does have one of the, you know, willing to take on the salary, has the prospects available to make that kind of a deal. That's a real difference maker too. Cardinals got the best hitter available. That's their best pitcher available.
And you'd have to say that the Cardinals more than likely are through here at the trade deadline as it approaches. If something makes sense and falls in their lap, yeah, they'll take a look at it. But you know, right now ownership has taken on more salary. They've given up a top prospect and one of their better pitchers out of the bullpen in Perez.
I talked to Tony about that, and he was fine. You know, he said we've got. I'm thankful for what they have done for us. You know, we've got enough. Of course, he was saying before the trades we had enough, but he feels a lot better about his chances now that Halladay is wearing a Cardinal uniform. Charlie Manuel, boy, the old school. I was talking to Charlie about how he managed the All-Star game. And, you know, I said, if this counts, you can't worry about trying to get guys in. And he agreed with me, and I said, what do you think about if you have one of your starting pitchers, you know, that starts on Sunday, you acknowledge and you say he's an all-star, but you replace him? He said, I had about 3 of those guys that you really can't use on Tuesday.
Right.
That they deserve to, you know, be called an all-star, but
2-2.
And you know, and with Tony La Russa and Joe Torre as his bench coaches, they were going right along with him, saying, you know, hey, yeah, let's manage this game to win.
The National League winless now over a decade against the American League in the All-Star game. 2 balls, 2 strikes here on Jimmy Rollins, a former MVP. Ground ball to second. Lugo flips to Brendan Ryan. We played 5 from Citizens Bank Park. DeRosa, Pujols, and Halladay coming up. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. By Dodge, the summer clearance is here. Get to your local dealer today and come see the great deals we built for you. And by the new Pina Colada Fratista Breeze from Taco Bell. It's seriously refreshing. It's turned into a nice night. Rain delay. Not all that long, and here we go. We're in the 6th inning. DeRosa, Pujols, and Halladay for the Cardinals. Mark DeRosa tonight is flied out to left, and he is struck out. I spoke to Mark before the game, and he grew up in the New Jersey area, so he's got his dad here tonight, family and friends. That pitch taken for a strike. He has been a welcome addition to this club, no doubt. 1-1 pitch. Up and away, 2 balls and 1 strike.
Well, everyone respects his playing ability. And I think the way he carries himself on and off the field, and just truly has impressed a lot of us, and fortunate to have him on the ball club because of his versatility. He can do so many things for his manager.
And it's also nice to bat in front of Albert Pujols. Now, when we don't see a lefty, it'll be interesting to see how Tony wants to approach his lineup with a Colby Rasmus in there. Would Rasmus hit in front of Albert? As DeRosa chops it foul.
It's a possibility, but right now Colby kind of in a little funk, and they understand that. They understand that's part of you know, being a rookie playing at this level, that he's going to need a little time off at times.
2-2. DeRosa, base hit into left. His first hit of the night, 1 for 3. And here comes Albert, who was grounded out to third and popped out to first, and Ryan Howard.
Well, Happ has very good numbers and he's not afraid to pitch with guys on base, but it sure is nice to see people on base in front of an Albert Pujols or Holiday who hits behind Albert. Cardinals have the 1-0 lead, but wouldn't be a bad idea to add on.
Pujols is about due.
Albert is 0 for 6.
One-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Slightly to pull in the infield and straight away in the outfield. If you had one more position player, you might put him in the seats.
Be interesting to see how teams approach Albert Pujols as far as pitching around him, the intentional walks, now that you do have Holiday and Ludwig behind him.
Just think how important it is, like in this case with DeRosa getting a leadoff base hit. Makes it all the tougher to pitch around Albert.
Pujols rips it foul right past Jose Oquendo. Speaking with Jose today, some of the coaches, just everybody had a little different buzz about him as they got to the ballpark because of this trade. It ignites a club, it ignites a franchise. You see the left fielder Ibanez deep in left. We're getting close to the dog days of summer, and something like this re-energizes the club.
Yeah, I don't think there was one person thinking they were retired today.
No. Pujols little looper and a base hit. DeRosa thought about going to third. He would have made it as Pujols stops at first. Ball scooted by Worth and just over Chase Utley for the base hit.
Tough read, and you see DeRosa looks in here, picks it up the ball, and you saw Worth had it in his glove, so he started going back to the bag, and then he dropped it or it got underneath him. So you would almost be running blindly to go on to third in that situation, and you have to assume that they were going to get it back in and not have the flub.
Runners at first and second. Nobody out here in the sixth for the Cardinals and Matt Holliday. Holliday, little bloop into shallow right. That will get down. Drops in for a hit. His second of the night. DeRosa will score from second. Pujols thought about coming home. They make him make the throw. He's back to third. And Matt Holliday, a couple of base hits, an RBI, and a run scored here tonight. 2-0 Cardinals.
And just one of those bloops, back-to-back bloops. And as a pitcher, you just rather have a guy hit one off the wall than to beat you with an RBI base hit on something that just falls in. So inside, fights it off. He's 6'4", 235, so muscles it out here. And the Cardinals get another run and threaten here with runners at the corners, and still nobody out.
Ludwig is grounded out to short, and he has singled. 1 for 2. Don't look now, but Ryan Ludwig with 61 RBIs. 61. Ludwig add to it. 62. Holliday around second, on his way to third, and he is gunned down. He hesitated just a bit around second base, and Ibanez throws him out at third. He's been all over the place tonight.
And Ludwig, knowing the throw is going to be there, you see him standing flat-footed, so the arm strength to get it there. And he's going to try and slide to the outfield side, but they tagged him as he goes by. He's trying to make an impression, and it's all favorable.
Well, Ludwig talked about DeRosa, Pujols, Holliday, himself. And now Molina, broken bat. That drops in. Another run will score to make it 4-0 St. Louis. Ludwig comes in. Molina his 34th RBI, 4-0 Cardinals. And Happ is thinking, you got to be kidding me.
Even DeRosa, the first hit of this inning, and there's 5 consecutive, was probably the best hit ball, but it wasn't really a screamer. This one doesn't quite get inside, but it jammed him enough to where he dunks it in front of Victorino out in center.
And a base hit. Molina 1 for 3. I mean, all told, even tonight, not many hard hit balls. Not just this inning alone. No activity right now in that bullpen. With one lefty, Air is out there. And of course, they have Brad Lidge out there closing games out, and he was perfect a season ago.
Perfect a season ago. Not quite the same this year. Still throwing well, but doesn't have quite the same armament he did a year ago.
You know, they always say never make that first or third out at third base, and just tell that Holiday's just pushing a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't mind it. It's his first game here. He's just being aggressive.
And, you know, the fact that Ludwig noticed he's going to be going there, got himself in scoring position. We'd rather have first and second and nobody out, but you can live with it when mistakes are made being aggressive.
Here's Rick Ankiel with 1 out, runner at first. We've talked so much about Matt Holliday and how it impacts what the Cardinals may do now and in the future. You know, John Mozeliak may be done with trades, but he's got some decisions upcoming. You know, Khalil Green, you've got Troy Gloss, and how does that affect your club?
If I'm not mistaken, the last couple days, Troy Gloss, I know he missed a doubleheader the other day with back spasms. So, I mean, I think they're hopeful he can come back, but how reliable or how healthy is he going to be? So I think once that Holiday deal presented himself, you know, Billy Beane maybe didn't have quite the leverage.
Ankiel smokes it right center, and Molina on his way to third. Ankiel on his way to second. They'll wave him in. Throw to the plate. He is there, and Ankiel winds up at third base. 5-0 Cardinals. Molina scores all the way from first base. Don't say that very often, do you?
No, you don't, but we're talking about all the little flares and quails. Well, that one was smoked. And off the wall out in center field, they get it back in quickly. And there's the plate up the line. And that probably was assured they'd be safe. And then a tough running play for Ankiel. And he does it to perfection to get over to third when you're running behind Molina.
A double for Ankiel. Now the infield is in. Brendan Ryan hits it out of play. Now, one of the things you might think about in this spot with Brendan Ryan, who at times has struggled driving in runners, would you think about the squeeze in this particular spot?
The most important thing is it's in the mind of the Philadelphia Phillies.
And it's easier to do it against the lefty. Howard over and makes the catch. Well, the Cardinals, another aspect to the trade of getting Holiday and getting Julio Lugo, Al, is the fact that when you face a lefty, you know, things have changed now. The Cardinals before tonight were hitting .223 against left-handed pitching. That's last in the major leagues. Lugo, DeRosa, Holiday. You know, against those lefties, it's a different looking lineup.
Well, they have 10 hits against Happ tonight, but 6 of them this inning. And
swing and a miss.
It does give you a fighting chance. Lugo is about a .333 hitter against left-handers this year. Holiday is a .320 hitter against everybody, so you know he hits lefties well.
You know, baseball players around the major leagues all talk about what it's like to come to St. Louis, play at that ballpark. The back of Matt Holliday's mind, I know it's been a busy day, but you have to wonder about what Monday night is going to be like for him.
Well, I can tell you he's going to enjoy the experience.
A swing and a miss.
And hopefully the Cardinals hold on and win this game for Pinheiro and themselves. We have a real good weekend here, and just let the Cardinal fans show their appreciation for a first-place team, a front office that just pulled off a great deal, and the farm system that is talented enough to be able to have minor league players that you could make that type of trade.
2-2. Up and in. Another aspect of the deal. How about Tony La Russa? Final year of his contract to be manager of the Cardinals. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, and the Cardinals are saying by making these deals to Rosa and Holiday, we want to win right now. Right down the middle, Pinheiro strikes out. That's 6 on the night for Happ, but a big inning for the Cardinals and a big night for Ankiel and Holiday. 4 runs in this inning. DeRosa and a bloop by Albert Pujols. Holiday, second base hit. Ludwig, Molina, and Rick Ankiel. 5-0. The St. Louis Cardinals, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, and Fox Sports Midwest have joined together to encourage young people not to smoke. Because once you start, it's hard to stop. Strike out tobacco so we can all breathe easier. Call the Missouri Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
You know, already has 3 games on, or 3 complete games this season.
Crooked numbers. You always talk about that in the game of baseball.
That's right. Crooked number is a good sign. And Pinheiro needs to put up another one of those bullseyes.
4-run top of the 6th. Victorino takes it a little bit low. The flying Hawaiian, Shane Victorino.
You can see the ball, just the sinking action on his pitch, where hitters will tell you they try to get them to elevate the ball, much more hittable.
Well, here's a question for you. At what point do you start to say that, you know, Pinheiro has figured something out here? We know he can pitch like this. We've seen it in the past. He's in a great run of games right now. That's into deep right field. And off the top of the wall, played perfectly by Ludwig. Fires it into second. And Victorino is in there safely. But the question
the answer to me is that,
you know, do you look at extending him?
Yes, you do. You know, you've got to look at that as down and in, so it kind of mislocation, and he's got a live bat line drive right off the top. Looked like Molina was set up outside, and it just down and in right in the wheelhouse, just drops a bat head. But I think that, you know, within reason, and I think Pinheiro, and remember, he was basically, you know, was agreed to go down to AAA with Boston, so he would be available, and they said, if you get a suitor, we'll make a deal for you. Comes here. Was good enough his final year to where he parlayed that into a 2-year contract, but I think he's figured things out again to where now you've got to consider at, you know, at a mutually agreeable price that you know, he's not going to break the bank, but he can come here and be in this rotation, and that way he makes more money in the future.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Only 88 pitches thrown, but trying to miss location a little bit here. So, and you're in the heart of their lineup, so this is a time where he's going to have to be careful. No activity in the Cardinal bullpen.
Big gap into left center field. Outside, Chase Utley has struck out tonight, flying out to center. Phillies have 4 base hits. The Cardinals with 10. And they lead it 5-0 here on the road.
Got 3 big guys in the middle lineup, were only separated by 3 RBIs, but from 69 to 66, right in that neighborhood. And there's a huge difference between the 3rd best RBI guy in the Cardinals lineup.
Pujols stays with it. Race to the bag, and Pinheiro is there. Nice play all around, and not moving on the play was Victorino. Well, every piece tells a story at Cardinals Authentics, the only place to find game-used, limited editions, and autographed memorabilia and collectibles. Visit CardinalsAuthentics.com anytime to find your story.
You have to believe Victorino was not sure and thought that that might be caught as a line drive. So anything to the right side, you're taken off. But wasn't sure if Albert was going to catch it on the fly.
I agree with you.
And Albert looked at him, and that kind of froze him again. And when Pinheiro came over to cover, Albert yelling at him, hey, beware the runner.
Strike to Howard, who struck out for the 114th time back in the second inning. He's also doubled.
Takes a secondary lead. Then he's not sure if it's going to be caught. Now he goes back. You know, sometimes guys just put their head down and they run and they look good because the play is not made. And there you see your softball short fielder. Don't they do that in softball? They have a short fielder like that?
I think you can have 4 outfielders in softball. So
okay, that's what I'm talking about. But I wasn't sure, so I was asking for help.
There he is, the right fielder.
Right fielder on the track. The second baseman playing very shallow right.
Brendan Ryan trying to keep Victorino close to the bag at second base. And he's positioned perfectly. Lugo from shallow right field comes up with a ground ball. As a hitter, that has to frustrate you to no end. Hit a ball hard, and the guy is playing 25 yards deep in right field.
I remember in Joe Torre's MVP season with the Cardinals, and I think it was 363 in 1971. He had the turf field, and guys would play that deep on guys like Joe that couldn't run. And remember, you only had the sliding pit, so they always got a pretty true hop.
Good breaking ball that time.
Didn't have the skin infields, but I would think that would frustrate good hitters when the infielder could play 10, 15 yards deep.
11 groundouts for Pinheiro. By the way, Pinheiro has the best ground ball rate, 73%. Best in the majors this season. I mean, that is telling you something there. 73%.
He's a Derek Lowe, Brandon Webb type. But he's got the best percentage of ground balls in the National League, like you said. And you know, some people are a little too critical when they say, well, he doesn't strike out many. Well, who cares if you get ground ball outs?
And you don't walk anybody.
And you don't
either.
walk anybody, and you keep the ball in the ballpark.
This is popped up. Is it playable? DeRosa over, and that will find the seats. I mean, think about that, though. 73%. And you're walking under a batter per game. I mean, you're putting the ball in play, you're pitching to contact, and the ball is staying in the ballpark. It's not giving up home runs.
And it's all about pitching deep enough into a game so everything falls in place for your bullpen. But your infielders love you. Your outfielders get a little bored.
We don't mind that, do we? There's a fly ball opposite way. Holiday is back and with room and makes the catch. Top of the lineup, Lugo, DeRosa, and Albert coming up. Cardinals with a lead here on the road. Game 1 of the series from Philadelphia, 5-0, and it's our Infinity game recap. Matt Holliday, the new Cardinal, and in the lineup tonight, first at bat, infield hit, then he would steal a base, come around to score on a Rick Ankiel 2-out base hit. Little blue pit off the bat of Holliday as well. And an RBI, and then the other story, Joel Pinheiro. And just how well he has been pitching this season as Matt Stairs takes over in left field. Stairs is in left, and a new pitcher. That's Tyler Walker, right-handed pitcher. 1-0 in 8 career games here at Citizens Bank Park, and it's our Chevy called to the bullpen. Lugo, DeRosa, and Albert Pujols here in the 7th inning.
Tyler's never had much success against the Cardinals. In 8 career games against St. Louis, he has an ERA over 14, 10 earned runs in 6 1/3 innings. 8 of his 9 appearances have been scoreless this season for the Phils.
6 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs. He strikes out 6, but Happ is out of this ball game. The count of 1 ball, 1 strike on Lugo. Lugo tonight is fly to center. He struck out swinging in the 3rd and also grounded out to 3rd. 5-0 St. Louis. If you're just joining us here this evening, Albert Pujols with a base hit and a run scored. Matt Holliday, 2 hits, a stolen base, RBI and a run scored, and Ludwig an RBI and 2 hits.
And Keels continued his good hitting.
How big would that be if they could get him somehow going? And he is showing, as we talked about last night, he is showing some signs of starting to make a little progress here.
Yeah, another 2 hits for Rick and a couple RBIs. One of his 2 hits was a triple, and Monday he got his first extra base hit in 3 weeks. Last night he had his first home run in a month. So it is important to start seeing him drive the ball again.
The 3-2 pitch. Lugo hits it in the air to right center field. Victorino on the move and can't come up with it. As he hits against the wall, Lugo to second, on his way to 3rd, and Victorino may be hurt.
You see the chain link fence out there, which is still very dangerous, and you could get a cleat caught in there. He appears to be okay. Bobby Valentine scaling a fence at Angel Stadium severely broke his leg. You see he gets a little close and then watch his left foot. He gets caught up in the chain link protecting the out-of-town scoreboard. But that's a good way to get a player hurt.
Victorino certainly a fan favorite with the Phillies, and he is smiling right now, so that's good. And Lugo winds up with a triple. That's good to see.
Remember, he had a base hit taken away from him last at bat, or Felice at 3rd base made a nice play to throw him out.
And he hit one at deep center his first time up.
Right.
I talked to Julio yesterday, and he said he prefers to play either short or second, more so short. He said, I can play 3rd. And he said, Tony has said at times he may even use him in the outfield. So if he truly becomes a utility guy with the Cardinals, which is what Tony La Russa always does, he'll play these guys all over the place.
It's a little better than sitting at home in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tony, wherever you want me, I'll be ready.
Yep. Here's DeRosa, RBI opportunity up and in. And in visiting with him on our pregame show yesterday, he said that wrist is, something that is manageable, which is good news. So
yes,
it's kind of an afterthought for him.
And the way he's acting right now, it is an afterthought for us. We don't think about it.
DeRosa pulls it foul. I mentioned this last night, and again now, is that the ball jumps off his bat. It did when he was with the Cubs, and remember, you didn't really notice him all that much because he never was a primary guy, and he's turned into a primary player now in the latter stages of his career.
Well, I remember when he first came up with Atlanta, and he was a serviceable guy. He's he could do a lot of things, but when he went to Texas, he got to working with their great hitting coach, Rudy Jaramillo, and all of a sudden he's become a much different hitter, and he is truly become a very good offensive player.
1-2 the count. DeRosa tonight is fly to left. He is struck out, singled and scored back in the 6th inning, in a big inning for the Cardinals. They picked up 4 runs. DeRosa out to left, stares his back near the wall, and he's got it. Plenty deep for Lugo to tag up to make it 6-0 Cardinals. Another RBI for DeRosa, his 5th. Well, 6 is a serious number. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just a quarter. The next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, when the Cardinals score 6, you score 25-cent drinks at On the Run. The Phillies recently have dominated this series against the Cardinals. They've won 6 of the past 7, and much of that having to do with the Cardinals starters. Starters in those games, the 7 games, an ERA close to 6, and overall the ERA at 5.
Starting pitching for the Cardinals is really turning around again, and they are pitching very good, the best in the National League in July. And I was telling, a quirk in the scheduling this year that really does help the Cardinals. The Cardinals only face the defending world champions 5 times. They were beaten twice in St. Louis and then this 3-game series. So this year the Cardinals have to play a lot of games. They got 6 road games against the Mets, and with the Mets and all their injuries, that could be the difference in the Central Division, with the Cardinals not playing Philly as much and playing a lot more games against the Mets.
Okay, you don't want to deal with Albert. Now you get Matt Holliday. Don't want to deal with Holliday, you get Ludwig. I mean, this lineup, in a matter of about 3 weeks, is completely different.
I was talking to a National League scout, and after the trade, he started going over his notes, and he just almost threw it away and started fresh.
Yeah. So here's Holliday with 1 out and a runner at first. It's bounced to the plate. And Holliday now out of the American League. And you mentioned that he was hitting .286 over in the American League. Another aspect of this deal is the fact that he comes back to a familiar territory in the National League.
Most definitely. You change leagues, and it takes a little time to transition.
Holliday out to right center field. Victorino looking up, and it's off the wall. Pujols on his way to third. He'll stop there. A 3-hit night for Matt Holliday.
Well, once again, talking with Hal McRae before the game, and we were talking about the presence of Holliday, and he says it's not the home runs, it's not the RBIs, it's once again a high average hitter. 3 hits tonight in his Cardinal debut. Sure, he's going to hit some home runs, he's going to drive in some runs, but the fact that you've got another very potent bat, and you got a guy that's going to be on base frequently. Somebody else can drive him in when he leaves something still out there.
I don't know if you're a scout and you look at the Cardinals now and say, how can you not consider them one of the better teams right now in the National League? There are some holes, I guess, but not a lot.
Well, we've eliminated quite a few.
Ludwig hits it hard, but right at third. Pujols has to stay put. Tough luck that time for Ryan. Couldn't hit it much harder.
It's at least 3 nice plays that Felice has made. Now that play's got to be made here at this level, but we see many times that it's not made. And runners at the corners, and see if Yachty can clean things up here with 2 outs.
Molina with an RBI single in the 6th. He's flied out to center and also struck out. Average is back up to .289. Runners at second and third for Molina.
Get it that close, you got to get it over .290.
Cardinals have pounded out 12 base hits, and Joel Pinheiro has held the Phillies to 4. Holliday 3 hits tonight. Pujols, Holliday, and Ludwig all have been on base collectively 7 times tonight.
Puts pressure on the defense, the pitching staff. You just don't get that breathing space. You're under the pressure every inning you're out there.
Too shallow in center possibly with Victorino. He's got great speed. He likes to play shallow if he can. 3-0 on Molina. And Keel on deck. And a walk. Bases loaded for Ricky Ankiel. And a look at the box score as Walker is shaking his head. And just about everybody has gotten into the act except for Pinheiro. You see Holiday 3 for 4, a double, run scored, a stolen base, RBI.
Well, I think Pinheiro's done his job.
On the mound, yes.
On the mound.
At the plate, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Ricky Ankiel has done his job. A couple of base hits. Picked up the first RBI in the game. Albert Pujols with the walk. Holiday the double. And Molina the walk. Walker in relief of Happ.
Tony knew that his ball club immediately got better, but his only concern was how long will it take for the team to gel collectively after the Holiday trade. I think with a good starting pitcher of Pinheiro and Holiday's 3 hits tonight, he's getting his answer a little quicker than, a little quicker than what probably thought. But see if it can continue.
2-1. You know, the players are charged up about Holiday being here, and you see Ricky Ankiel has 1 career grand slam. They're trying to show Holiday that they're a pretty good team coming into this, even without him.
Holiday's been playing against the Cardinals for so many years. He's very much aware of Albert Pujols and company. He looks at the standings and sees they're in first place. That gives him a lot of incentive to come over here and wanting to do well on top of it. Still is his walk year too, but all is a good combination.
Off the end of the bat, little squibber. Feliz, bare hands, everybody is safe, and a run scores. Well, the Cardinals have had some broken bats, some bloops, infield hits, and everything going their way tonight. 7-0. Feliz thought it was do or die. He might have been able to glove this.
A lot of fielders, you know, they think they don't have time, or you know, they don't realize the guy gets kind of jammed out of the batter's box, doesn't have that good start.
And so it's Brendan Ryan. First pitch is fouled. Pinheiro's spot is due up next. Holiday, Molina, and Ankiel. Bases are loaded, so the Cardinals have had a reliever up just in case that spot comes up.
I think right now is because you got the comfortable lead and there was the rain delay, you go ahead and pinch hit if you get that opportunity.
You know, I asked Tony La Russa, and we talked about it last night. Did he think about pinch hitting for Wainwright? And Tony said absolutely, with Albert Pujols, with the bases loaded before the 5th inning to bust that game open. He said, but really it wasn't fair to Albert. He said, I hadn't really thought that far ahead. He said, you know, for Pujols, we want to make sure that he's loose, ready. And he said, you know, I'm trying to give him truly a night off. And he said, look, if the game is on the line and I can use him, of course I'm going to use him. But with the way things are going, they wanted to give him that night off. And most importantly, want to make sure that he's almost got a lather going and is ready and warmed up.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if it's in the 7th inning, there's no question. But that early, he's trying to be respectful, don't want to pull a muscle. And truly, you know, when you give a guy a day off and just let him totally relax.
In the air.
Your intent is.
To right field and put away. Holiday 3 hits tonight. Cardinals rolling 7-0. It's time to stretch. 7-0 St. Louis. Bottom of the 7th. Matt Holliday, the newest member of the Cardinals. Let's go pitch by pitch in his at bats tonight. His first at bat, an infield hit. Holliday also grounded out to short. Picked up a bloop base hit and almost knocked one out of the park to right center field. 3 hits tonight.
Well, the best thing was I saw a big smile on his face when he left the dugout talking with Albert Pujols. There was another smile when he was playing catch in the outfield. That's what you want to see from him.
Chevy called to the bullpen. This is Kyle McClellan. Worth, hard hit and a base hit up the middle. Jason Worth on base for the second time. He has walked, fly to right, and now that single.
Dan, I think in this game it's 6-0 or 7-0, excuse me. And Pinheiro, you know, they didn't pinch hit for him. He was due up first next inning, but you go to the bullpen for a couple factors. You want, if you can have a comfortable lead and you can spell him a couple innings right now, you do so. And you also, he endured a rain delay and he fouled that ball off his shin. So I think it's more important to get him out of there, just kind of give him a little rest. Only allowed 4 hits, no runs, walked 1. That's the first time in 5 starts he's walked a batter. And you got some guys in the bullpen that need some work.
Kyle McClellan is into the ball game, and I remember the Cardinals last season opened up against the Colorado Rockies at home. And in the first game of his big league career, Kyle McClellan faced Matt Holliday. That was the first batter he ever faced. And he said when he was introduced before the game as the first to have reached, he looked across the diamond and saw Holliday, and he asked one of his teammates, he said, "Are all the guys this big up here?" So that guy is big.
Well, I knew he faced Holliday in that. I didn't realize it was the first guy. And you know, you look at that sign right there that, you know, maybe because he needs a little work. Last pitched in Houston on Monday, and Dave Duncan's got Trevor Reyes, Denny's Reyes up in the bullpen and out to talk to McClellan a little bit.
We have Stairs on deck who hits from the left side, and then Rollins and Victorino, a couple of switch hitters, and then you get Utley and Howard. You know, you figure going into the series you were a bullpen guy, and things are different for when you were a lefty pitching at this level, but the guys at the Cardinals have Miller and Reyes. You look at that lineup and you say, okay, Utley, Howard, pretty big bats. I got to get out.
I don't know how there'd be any way that you wouldn't anticipate pitching every day. Against the Phillies, a left-hander reliever should be thinking he's going to pitch every day.
Charging, Brendan Ryan out there on the first double play. It's a good play by Brendan where he got it before the short hop and didn't play it back for a bigger hop. Had to charge and go to second. Good turn by Lugo. 6-4-3.
Probably wouldn't be able to turn the double play if he lays back on it. It's a much more difficult play, but he controls the hop a little bit. Then he's got to get his body, because he's in front of the second base bag, reverse and make his throw to his second baseman backwards, and Lugo had a lot of time to where they completed the double play.
Here is Matt Stairs.
He's parlayed his career into a nice one, and especially now where he did come in for defense, but he's one of the better pinch hitters in the game today.
Now you were talking about the shift, and it looks like a softball team. This guy to me looks like a softball player. We got him right here. Al's Beer League. I mean, this guy is perfect for it, and he takes a hack. That gets through Molina, and the Phillies get on the board at 7-1.
Scored a wild pitch. And we've seen Yachty with a runner at third, you know, block more times than not that ball there, and just kind of, instead of the weight shift, kind of stabbed at it and missed it.
And ball 4 to Stairs.
Stairs in his career is a .280 pinch hitter with 18 home runs and 73 RBIs.
Jimmy Rollins. Matt Stairs will take second base.
Fielder's indifference is Albert playing way back, and Stairs does what he should do, get himself in scoring position.
Breaking ball taken outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Rollins tonight, their leadoff man, is grounded to Pujols at first. He's grounded to second, and also has another ground out. He's 0 for 3. 4-6 on the fielder's choice back in the 5th. This side of the plate, he's hitting .240 at the start of play tonight. The right side, he's at .234. And he waves at that pitch.
Foul ball. The difference is Rollins, because his good speed, he's a natural side, is right-handed. And he has more pop from the right-hand side. Remember the home run he hit off of Steve Klein?
Who could forget that? And Klein, the old vet, just staring him down. That one caught Molina on a foul tip.
I wonder how Steve Klein's doing.
He's coaching.
I wonder how he's doing.
Steve Klein is a coach. Can you believe that?
No, but that's where I can believe that. Just, is it wrestling?
It's baseball, too. He's a pitching coach, apparently.
That's right, in the Giants system, right?
I believe so.
But they have some strange rules.
He and Tony had some good times over the years, didn't they?
They came up with their own hand signals.
One and two the count on Jimmy Rollins. Tails back in for the strikeout. We played 7 here in Philly. Phillies get on the board. It's now 7-1 Cardinals. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. A new pitcher in, Andrew Carpenter. As you get a look at Colby Rasmus, he'll be a pinch hitter here. Carpenter has never faced the Cardinals, and he's had 2 career games here at Citizens Bank Park. Just recall from Lehigh Valley, their AAA affiliate, when Romero was put on the disabled list. His 2nd major league recall this season, 3rd of his career. And for Lehigh this season in 17 games, he was 8-2. So here is Colby Rasmus to lead it off for the Cardinals.
Colby in a little bit of a funk. He's 1 for 12 on the road trip. You know, one thing he's got to do is walk more.
I mentioned that the other night. We talked about it, how he doesn't work many counts, and you would figure in this lineup he would hit in front of Pujols. Or does he drop down and leave him a little bit more exposed, you know, down deeper in the order? That's one of the concerns, I'm sure, for Tony La Russa when Colby does play, is where to position him. Does he position him where Ankiel is tonight, bat him 7th, or do you try to keep the rookie from not being overexposed by hitting him in front of Albert Pujols?
And it's a work in progress. You're still trying to figure out what to do with him. The one thing that they realize, these kids come up here and it's a little bit quicker pace, the anxiety, you know, they're under the gun a little bit more, and so they have to give them some time to kind of regroup. And sometimes when a guy doesn't walk, it's because he's fears striking out.
Remember a couple of springs ago, he really did a nice job when he was batting leadoff in a number of games. And a ground ball hit to the first baseman, Howard. Flips to Carpenter, and Rasmus retired for the first out here in the 8th. And it brings in Lugo. Julio Lugo tonight, fly to deep center. He struck out in the 3rd. He's grounded out to third and also tripled back in the 7th. Cardinals in the 6th inning had 6 consecutive hits. DeRosa, Pujols, Holiday, Ludwig, Molina, and Ankiel.
The middle of this lineup has had a lot of base runners.
Redbirds with 13 hits tonight, 6 on the other side for the Phils. Lugo talking to his bat. Breaking ball taken low and in. Going to find out what kind of difference he can make with this club too. Gives you insurance at shortstop for Ryan. Maybe late inning situations if you want to bring Schumacher out for defensive purposes.
I think Schumacher's a better defensive player than Lugo.
Really?
Yes.
Lugo, left field. Will it carry out of here? It's gone. A home run for Julio Lugo. And it's 8-1.
Look at this lineup here today, and you wouldn't put Lugo as the first guy to hit a home run.
A triple tonight and a home run for Julio Lugo. Hardy's prime cut of the game could be Ludwig, could be Pujols, Holiday. No, Julio Lugo.
Always been more of an offensive player, and at one time, you know, he was okay defensively and primarily a position of shortstop. But the last couple of years, that skill level seemed to have eroded a little bit, but part of it's due to injury. That's kind of what happened to him this year in Boston. You know, he had a meniscus problem, had to have surgery, another little injury, and so the fit didn't work in Boston, but you never know, it may work nicely here in St. Louis.
Change of scenery, you always hear.
Oh.
You know, you have a guy change of scenery and you never know what may happen. 1 ball and 2 strikes on DeRosa. 2-2.
Fresh start, and get to go out there, and you know, a year ago you wouldn't want Schumacher facing a left-handed pitcher. This year he's much better.
DeRosa out to deep left field. And it is a foul ball. DeRosa doing a little bit of Carlton Fisk. He had the lean going. Two pitch.
You only saw that on replays, right?
Yes.
I was going to say, don't want to age you, but it was kind of a unbelievable when the first time, and a rare shot to have the Carlton Fisk and the body language trying to keep a ball fair.
Strikeout of DeRosa, and here's Pujols. Single, a walk, 2 runs scored, 1 for 3 on the night for Albert. The other Carpenter, Chris Carpenter, will pitch on Monday night for the Cardinals against the Dodgers.
There's another reason to go see that game.
Good seats remaining for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that series. Monday night sold out.
But still some standing room only.
Isn't that great, though? Monday night. And a lot of teams are struggling putting bodies in the seats. The Cardinals will be well above $3 million once again, and that's one of the reasons they made this deal. You know, the Cardinal fans are coming out. There is revenue there.
And you know, the Cardinal ownership has always said that.
Albert hits it down the left field line, pulls it foul.
People come through the turnstile, they'll reinvest that money into players.
Carpenter and Carpenter. 1-2 pitch. Albert out to left, and the catch made. Midway through 8-8-1 Cardinals. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser Select, full flavor, 99 calories, the exception to the rule. By Bank of America, Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by Hyundai, lock in $149 a gallon for a year's worth of gas. Visit your St. Louis Hyundai dealers today. Gorgeous night here in the city of Philadelphia. 8-1 St. Louis. Appreciate the hard work of our crew and the fine work of our crew here in Philadelphia here this evening. Denny's Reyes into the ball game for the Cardinals, and he will deal with Victorino, Utley, and Howard. Big sweat. First pitch, a strike. Reyes in relief of McClellan, as Pinheiro gave the Cardinals another strong outing here tonight. 6 innings. 0-1 pitch. Ground ball, base hit. May have reached for it, but pulls it past the shortstop, Ryan.
Off-speed pitch. Goes out there and rolls over on it, but he hits enough of it to get it through the hole. Victorino is a switch hitter, and Utley comes up here, and Ryan, so good time for Denny's Reyes, who's just needs to pitch a little bit right now, but been coming in these real short appearances, and of late it seems like he's given up you know, whether it's bears out or not, but it seems like he's given up quite a few hits.
And then he gets a good test here. Utley and Howard on deck. Left center field. Catch made by Ricky and Keel.
Good jump by Rick.
Sure was.
Reyes in his last 5 appearances has only given up hits in 2 of those. He walked the only batter, or he hit the batter in Houston last time out because he had no outs, no hits recorded.
Ryan Howard has struck out tonight. He has doubled and also grounded out.
His last 5 appearances was covering an inning and 2/3. So just those short appearances, only getting to base a batter or 2.
Victorino is not being held on. That's lifted into left center. Drops for a hit. A little excuse me swing there from Ryan Howard.
Victorino running on the pitch, but only gets to second base on the base hit.
And John Mayberry Jr. will be the pinch hitter.
He's running right there, but he thought that maybe Ankiel was going to catch it, and then it was too late for him to advance to third.
John Mayberry Jr.
His dad was a good one. Big John.
This kid's a big kid too.
Yeah, he is, and they say he's got some talent, but he probably, you know, they know he can help up here, but probably for further development would be better if he was playing every day at AAA. And Tony's going to go to the bullpen and bring in, it looks like, Mott.
So with 1 out and 2 on, Tony La Russa will make the change. Eight to 1 St. Louis, bottom of the 8th, 1 out, and Jason Mott is in with runners at first and second.
See the number for Jason Mott. His holds leads the ball club. And we'll see what Jason. Mayberry. He is 25 years of age, 6'6", 230. Went to Stanford University and had a very good collegiate career. They acquired him from Texas in the offseason.
One out, runners at first and second. And the first pitch taken inside. Talked to Jason Mott before the game, and he said, you know, when you're out there in the bullpen and you watch now our lineup as a reliever from his perspective and from what the other guys are talking about, there's not any easy outs. You know, Holiday, Ludwig, DeRosa, Pujols. These guys were charged up about the move.
Doesn't always happen where the ball club will endorse a deal, but they truly, to a man, have endorsed this one. And know now it's up to them.
1-1 pitch. Mott said, you know, he was moving his shoulder. He said, you wouldn't believe this, but he said, go ahead and touch the top of my shoulder. You could hear the different cracking in the way that his shoulder was moving. I said, is that something that has developed since you've been pitching? He said, I've had it all my life. He said, guys just don't believe that my shoulder does that. And for you, Al, you can barely comb your hair anymore.
Really?
Well, I watch you get up out of a chair. You've got neck pain, back pain, leg pain, and elbow pain, and shoulder pain. Just shoulder.
Shoulder and arms don't bother too much.
But everything else does.
Only when it rains on my right shoulder.
On your right, not the left.
Yeah, that's when I had the blue plate special on.
Blue
blue plate special, torn rotator cuff, torn labrum, and a ruptured bicep on my non-throwing arm. So there you see, look at the movement. You know, early in the season, he had very little movement on his fastball.
That was at 97.
But when you're throwing 97 and that ball's running like that, that's very difficult to catch up to or even time, center the ball.
Jason Worth with 2 on. 98, that pitch. Couldn't catch up on that pitch. 97.
Now the Phillies have 4 guys in the middle of their lineup, from Utley, Ryan, Ibanez, and Worth, from 70 to 62 RBIs. Now that's talking about tough outs in there.
'98. They do play in a hitter's park. That is part of it. And same can be said about some of the numbers that Matt Holliday has put up in his career.
And when you look at those 4 guys, they have all have from 21 to 25 home runs. So Cardinals may have some guys they can bunch up there, but they don't have that power right now.
Good block. 2-2. But things have changed from opening days. You had Joe Thurston at third base, Khalil Green at short. Mott was your closer. Second base is now Julio Lugo. Schumacher, though, will play the bulk of the time there. Left field now, Matt Holliday. Pretty amazing.
Yes.
2-2 pitch. And a strikeout of Worth. Holliday leads it off. When we come back, he already has 3 hits tonight. Coming up, U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, a welcome Holiday. Nice welcome addition. As Holiday's in the fold for the Cardinals, you'll hear from Tony La Russa and also from some of the other players and their reaction from the Cardinal clubhouse on this trade for St. Louis.
Dan, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
As Matson will come in for the Philadelphia Phillies, Holiday, the best position player available for a trade. Cardinals pick him up. You got Holiday, best pitcher,
Roy,
that we hear out there. If you had a chance to get one of them, who would it be?
saying that you don't have either, right? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
you can. I mean,
You're in a position to win. Holiday up the middle, backhanded by Utley, and he is safe. A 4-hit night in his Cardinal debut. 4-hit night for Matt Holiday. Let me give you points on both.
Well,
if you're the Cardinals and you added Roy Halladay to this rotation, I think in postseason play you might be the team to beat.
You got to get there, though, don't you?
But that's the key. You got to get there, and I think a position player giving protection around Pujols gets you a better chance to get there maybe than Roy Halladay would.
In my mind, I take the position player because he can win a game for you or contribute to win every single day. And the other guy's wins every 5.
And that's my point. You have to get there first.
Right.
And right now the rotation is pitched very well.
Yes. You know, we've been talking for a year plus that the inconsistent offense, you needed to add another bat. Mission accomplished there. And as much as you want to have Halladay, and we still would love to acquire him, but you just have to feel that that's not going to be feasible. Cardinals wouldn't have the talent or the best offer for Toronto. Then I've got to take the position player that can help win every single game. And you're also talking about a guy that defensively is going to help you on top of it. Carpenter's influence might help you to sign Halladay, but but I've got to go with a guy that can do it every single day. That's why the old trades and the old trades, rarely did you see a position player traded for a starting pitcher. Most people say, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. As Ludwig strikes out.
If you got into postseason play, you had Roy Halladay, Chris Carpenter, and Adam Wainwright, Loge, Pinheiro, and you only basically need 3, maybe 4. But the first 3, Halladay, Carpenter, Wainwright, you can't tell me there's 3 better out there.
No. But and they have to pitch up to their expectations. But you can have the best rotation in the world, but if you don't get any run support, they can't win either. They can get a no decision. So I think overall, if you had to make the choice, you take the position player.
1-1 pitch to Molina.
Especially when it's your most glaring need, was adding a bat.
Well, as time goes on, I'll be interested to see the comments from both DeRosa and Halladay, Matt, about their feelings of staying in town. And Kyle Loge just a year ago was facing that. Remember, we were talking about this time last year, would he come back? That was the big talk, and it got settled at the end of the year. So we got plenty of time to get to that point.
And it got settled the right way without anybody knowing about it until they announced a press conference that he had agreed to a multi-year contract. But the other aspect too is you'd like to believe that coming to play in the St. Louis environment, that it's going to help sell itself on a long-term contract. And obviously, if the Cardinals have the best option or best opportunity to sign Halladay long-term because he's their property and they have the first shot at him.
Molina throws the bat at it, and it's a foul ball. So 2-2 with 1 out.
It's a little piece of it. We talk about how he's can fend off very tough pitches. Just get a little piece to stay up there.
2-2 pitch again. Molina bounces it left side. Out at second. Out at first.
Mercedes-Benz E-Class attention assist of the game. DeRosa over there, but the ball's going to our shortstop, Brendan Ryan, with a nifty double play to Lugo and then on over to Albert. So Mercedes-Benz E-Class attention assist of the game. As Brad Thompson, I believe he hasn't pitched, and I'm correct, since July 11th. That was in Chicago right before the break. So he needs a little tune-up. He'll get the 9th inning here and hopefully preserve this victory for Pinheiro and get the Cardinals started in the right direction in this tough weekend. It sure was helped out by the trade today. Matt Holliday comes over from Oakland in exchange for Brett Wallace and 2 other minor leaguers, and he's made quite a debut with a 4-hit night. Stole the base, and just his presence has lifted the spirits of all the Cardinal players. So Brad Thompson will come in here. He hadn't pitched once again since May 11th, or excuse me, July 11th. And Brad's sinker, we have to find out if he can find the strike zone. First pitch is an indication where he's a little rusty.
And there's a ground ball up the middle. Brendan Ryan to his left makes the play. Well, 6 is a serious number, so a good day tomorrow. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just $1. The next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, when the Cardinals score 6, you score 25-cent drinks at On the Run. Eight to 1 Cardinals here in the 9th. And that pitch is taken for a strike. Carlos Ruiz
had the most success against Pinheiro. He was 2 for 2, as Pinheiro only gave up 4 hits and 6 shutout innings. But this, Brad Thompson not pitching, he's going to have to struggle with his control.
Matt Holliday in his debut tonight with 4 base hits, 4 for 5, a double, 3 singles, RBI and a run scored. Our Budweiser player of the game. 15th time the Cardinals have scored 8 or more runs in a game this season. And he's a big reason why here tonight. Here's Matt Stairs.
Stairs, this is his second plate appearance. He walked first time up as he went in as part of a double switch.
1-0 pitch. Stairs, a ground ball. Backhanded by Albert on a tough hop. Throws to second, throws low, and everybody is safe.
Error on Albert is he takes a tough hop, staying flat-footed there, and then throws a sinker right into the dirt, and Ryan gets tangled up with Ruiz. So with 1 out, they have runners at first and second, and the top of the order, Jimmy Rollins. See Molina, because DeRosa had to go retrieve that ball into shallow left field. So Molina trotting down to protect at third.
Albert to second. On to first. Safe. Just by maybe a half step. Almost ended the game. Good to see these ground balls, as Thompson now is 1 out away from finishing the game off.
Well, especially since with a long layoff, usually talk about sinker ball pitchers prefer to pitch tired. Well, he's anything but with 2 weeks of layoff. And he's going out there throwing strikes and getting ground balls. And now the real key is to keep them from getting on the scoreboard here in the ninth.
Rollins will take second base. No steal on the play. Runners at second and third. Look at the Central standings. Chicago a game back of the Cardinals. Houston a game and a half. Milwaukee 2.5 out. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh 6.5 and 8.5. Another ground ball. This should do it. And the Cardinals win it. Convincing win in the debut for Matt Holliday in St. Louis as he picks up 4 hits, 4 for 5. And welcome to the Redbirds, Matt Holliday. 8-1 our final tonight as the Cardinals pour out from the dugout. Well, stay with us. Much more to come. The postgame show, U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, is coming up.
The Matt Holliday era gets underway. The Cardinals win it 8-1 over Philadelphia tonight. Jack Clark and I are here to break this one down. Jack, your thoughts on Matt's debut and the win?
Well, Matt was fantastic. Looked like he's been here the whole time. He had no problems fitting right in. I mean, just had that look on his face like just another day at the beach. This is what we do. And Pinheiro, again, another masterpiece. And with that type of performance, look out.
More with Jack coming up. Plus, a holiday celebration is in the cards with the Redbirds, adding another bat to the middle of the lineup. Just how much has Matt Holliday helped this team? Plus, find out how the new number 15 fared in his Cardinal debut as we break down each and every Holiday at bat. And we'll go back to Philly for player reaction and Tony La Russa's post-game comments. Happy birthday to aviator Amelia Earhart. Every night's a journey around the world on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. And guess what? It's coming up next.
Welcome to U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.
The Matt Holliday era is underway. Holliday's first Cardinal at bat, not a bomb, but he'll take it. An infield base hit. Then he'll show off the wheels. He'll steal a base. Holliday would score a 4-hit night for Matt Holliday as the Cardinals win this one 8-1 in Philly. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside our Fox Sports Midwest studios in St. Louis for the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live alongside the Ripper, Jack Clark. I'm Jim Hayes. Plenty to talk about with the newest Cardinal, Matt Holliday, making his Redbird debut tonight. We'll look at how he will impact the rest of the lineup and the race in the Central Division. We'll also break down Joel Pinheiro's start and head back to the city of brotherly love for player reaction and, of course, Tony La Russa's thoughts on tonight's victory. Before we do that, though, let's get your thoughts on tonight's ballgame. Pretty good one with Matt Holliday sort of stealing the spotlight.
Well, I thought Matt might be a little bit tired, you know, with all the commotion and the traveling and the information and getting there, and then the press conference ahead of time and beforehand. But came right out. You know, that's where the player is most comfortable and happiest, is between the lines on the field. And he probably couldn't wait to get that uniform and get out there, take some BP with his new teammates. And, you know, I'm sure DeRosa and those guys, Chris Carpenter, Albert, all made him feel very comfortable, very welcome. And he fits right in. He looks like he hasn't missed a step. He looks good in that uniform. And it's just good to see. Everybody looked like they had a smile on their face. Expected to win tonight. They looked like they were going to win, find a way. He happened to add those 4 hits. You know, drove a ball in the gap. You know, Albert and some of those other guys and Holliday hit a couple bloopers and fell in it. But those big boys sometimes need to get those too, because they hit a lot of balls hard that are right at people. So they need a few cheap ones once in a while too.
Yeah, cheap, whatever. Matt Holliday, 4 hits, and he added a real spark. Don't forget, Cardinal fans, it's U.S. Cellular text time. Text your questions for Jack and me to 432-432. Please include your first name and where you're texting from in your message. Standard text messaging rates do apply. We'll answer the texts later on Cardinals Live. Well, we're going to get things started by heading back to Citizens Bank Park a short time ago. Dan McLaughlin catching up with the newest Cardinal, Matt Holliday, our Mid-America Chevrolet dealers player of the game. Dan.
Well, everybody in St. Louis wants to hear from Matt Holliday, and they heard from him before the game, after the game. 4 hits, 4 for 5. Congratulations. What did it feel like tonight for you?
Well, it's been a bit of a hectic day, but it was great. It was to get out here, and even though I'm wearing Todd Wellemeyer spikes and using DeRosa's glove and his batting gloves, it was fun to get out here and to contribute to a win and get out here and just play.
What was the reception in the clubhouse for you from your teammates when you arrived here to Philadelphia?
Oh, you know, just warm. You know, glad to have me. Glad I was there, and you know, I'm thankful to be here.
You know, your first at bat, you get the infield hit. Did that take away some of the jitters for you?
Yeah, I think so. That was nice. I felt like I couldn't get out of the box. I got these heavy shoes on. So. But yeah, it was good.
You know, when you think about the middle of this lineup and the impact that you can make on it, have you thought much about it, Pujols, yourself, and Ryan Ludwig?
I haven't had time to think much about it, but it seems to be a great lineup. Hopefully I can help out and contribute and be a good offensive player in the middle of the lineup, and hopefully we can win a lot of games.
Well, we talked a lot about the fact that your first game will be in St. Louis on Monday night. Have you given that much thought in the reception you might get?
I haven't thought about any of that much. You know, I was just trying to get my people down here. My family's with me, and we were trying to get over here from New York, and we jumped on a train, and it's been pretty hectic, and I'm trying to concentrate. And so maybe tonight I'll think about some of those things.
What's it do for you to go from Oakland now to come into a situation with St. Louis where all of a sudden now you're in a pennant race? What's that do for your juices as far as baseball is concerned?
I'm excited. I'm extremely excited. Obviously, I'm very grateful for my time in Oakland, and my teammates were fantastic, and they treated me really well over there. But I'm extremely happy to be back in a pennant race and be here and playing in such a great environment that is St. Louis Cardinal baseball.
Welcome to St. Louis. Nice debut.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks. Highlights, top of the second inning, Matt Holliday, an impact in his first Cardinal at bat, a slow roller to third. Feliz can't make the play. Holliday safe at first with the infield single, his first Cardinal base hit. Then, on the first pitch to Ryan Ludwig, Holliday off to the races. He's safe. First Cardinal steal for Holliday. Later in the inning, with Holliday at third, Rick Ankiel comes through, a single to left. An inning of first for Holliday, who scores his first Cardinal run, 1-0. After a 48-minute rain delay, the game resumed in the bottom of the second. And Joel Pinheiro goes to work, gets the All-Star Ryan Howard swinging. Then in the fourth, fellow All-Star Chase Utley goes down on strikes. Pinheiro shutout through 4. To the sixth, the newest Cardinal at it again. After hits from DeRosa and Pujols, Holliday bloops one and drops in for a hit. DeRosa races home from second. Cards lead a 2-0 on Holliday's first Cardinals RBI. Next up, Ryan Ludwig. Base hit to left. Albert Pujols trots home from third. Holliday out, trying to advance to third. Good hustle, though. 3-0. Yadi or Molina next up. And Yadi lines a single. Ludwig scores 4-0. Cardinals get their 5th straight hit of the inning. Could Ankiel make it 6 straight? Yes, he could. He keeps up his hot hitting with a double. Molina scores all the way from first. He's hustling. He's hustling. Ankiel's second RBI of the night makes it 5-0. We go to the 8th. The other new Cardinal, Julio Lugo. Oh, he got a hold of one. Bye-bye for Julio. His first Cardinal home run. It was 8-1. The Cardinals go on to win this one 8-1. So overall, great night for the Cardinals. They win this one 8-1. Joel Pinheiro, outstanding 6 innings, just 4 hits. Goose egg on the earned run front, gave up no runs. Did walk a guy, first walk in 5 games, but the good news for Pinheiro is that he evens that record at 9-9. He gets the lowest. He gets the lowest run support of any pitcher in the National League. He got some support tonight.
Well, and you know, he didn't really need it because if they would have got, you know, it would have been a 2-1 ball game. He was pretty much unhittable tonight. There was not any balls really hit hard off of him. You saw when he came out of the game, the other pitchers that came in, McClellan and everybody else that came in, some balls were hit hard. That's a tough Philadelphia lineup. all the way from top to bottom. And as soon as he got out of there, all of a sudden they started hitting the balls a little bit harder. So that just shows you what kind of movement he has in the ball and how difficult he is to get one just right. And the way that defense is playing, now that you have DeRosa over there, you know, Albert and that middle of the lineup, Lugo looks so natural over at second base. Then you got Molina back there. I mean, it's solid. So defensively, they're sound and they're going to be tough. As long as that team stays healthy, they're going to be tough from here on out.
What Pinheiro did tonight is nothing new, but there was something very new in the lineup. Everyone's talking about the newest addition, that being Matt Holliday, and he was, as advertised, a 4-hit night for the newest Cardinal. First Cardinal to get 4 hits since Aaron Miles did it, April 3rd, 2006, also at Philadelphia. But we see what Matt Holliday's doing. He's getting on base. He's stealing bases. The guy's got some speed, number 15.
He likes to play. He's a baseball player. He's used to being in Colorado where there's a lot of activity and you're on base all the time and you're running, sliding, scoring runs. He's got to be so happy being back in the National League, having an opportunity to play National League baseball and play with a team with the kind of history the Cardinals have. And he just is going to fit right in. And so we have some huge excitement coming in the second half of this season.
Out there, but you like the hustle, you like the enthusiasm, and you know, I tell you what, this guy can mash. Again, we didn't see his best tonight, although that was a pretty good ride right there. We saw a few infield hits. This guy is going to be key for the Cardinals.
Well, he's a guy that anybody in baseball would like to have on their club, but he's here. And with the addition of DeRosa, now him, and Lugo gives Tony some flexibility. And obviously he can swing the bat a little bit and then add some speed. Once Holliday gets his own shoes and gets Wellemeyer's shoes out of there, he'll even be faster. So he'll probably be safe at third instead of out next time.
Third 4-hit night of the season for Matt Holliday. And a look at Holliday's career numbers. A slow start this year in Oakland, but started hitting .390 over the past 2 weeks, so he caught fire. But he's had some great years in Colorado. You look at the career numbers. This is what this guy is all about, Jack, production.
And he's got a long time still to play. He's a young guy. Hopefully he'll be here for a long time. And so there's nothing else to say except it's exciting to have him here, and let's get it on.
They got to get him signed next year, hope. But that's
for next year. Yeah. Right now is just win a championship.
Holliday met with the media before the game. We get his thoughts on becoming a Cardinal and getting back into a winning situation.
Well, I mean, you got to be excited about that. Here he is, you know, and everybody else is pumped up. They're pumped up about DeRosa, everybody else. Chris Carpenter has got to be one of the most excited players, knowing that, you know, he's having the kind of year he's having, and, you know, they bring in a guy like this, and all the hard work is paying off for everybody now.
All right, let's hear from the newest Cardinal. He'll talk about being with a team that has a shot.
Really excited. You know, that's what we play for. You know, I've had a chance to taste it once, having played in the playoffs and been in a World Series, and to be able to play in meaningful games in September and October, you can't beat it. I mean, the atmosphere and the enthusiasm for baseball and the feeling you get as a player, the excitement about going to the field every day. I'm excited. You know, I think it's something that once you've been there, you want to get back, and you want that taste of being on a winning team and playing meaningful games.
I like everything about this guy. He looks like a Cardinal, right? He's been here one night. He looks like a Cardinal to me.
Well, he does. You know, and who doesn't? When they put that Cardinal uniform on, they just look good, and they look baseballish and look like they're ready to play. And again, that comment I was making earlier about, you know, this is a little bit of a reward for the journey these guys have been on to get to this point. For them in that clubhouse, for that staff and Tony and his staff and the fans of St. Louis, Chris Carpenter is healthy this year. Adam Wainwright, what they're doing, you cannot let this slip away. Making a move like this sends a message to the club, to the Cardinal fans, so everybody's excited about it, except everybody else in baseball, especially in their division. They're in a little bit of trouble right now, and this team is going to take off because now they're going to have even more fun because they want to show off to everybody and each other. And so, you know, you can just see the smiles on their faces. It doesn't get much better than that.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I was
smiling.
I've been in Tony La Russa's office for some of these post-game pressers where he's not been in a great mood. Bet he's in a good one tonight. The Cardinals get a lopsided one in Philly, and they get their man, Matt Holliday. We'll hear from the skipper when we come back from break.